Welcome, Pharaoh fans, and welcome back to another episode. Welcome back to another interview. I'm your host, MG, and thank you. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for being part of this journey. Now, I have brought you some good conversation. We are talking about something that we always talk about, relationships. And what is it and what does it mean to be in a relationship and to define a relationship and where modern relationships are going wrong. Now, today I have Andrea here with me today. How are you doing today?
I am well. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you for being on the show. And Pharaoh fans, just to give y'all some background, we had to have this conversation. We had a great conversation on the phone. And I said, hold on, wait a minute. We got to talk about this on the show. We can't save this for phone call behind the scenes conversation. We got to have this conversation on the show. So we're here to have this conversation about modern relations. But before I get to that, and Andrea, you know, I have to bring it to the forefront first. So forgive me, but I want to highlight that you are an entrepreneur. You are an entrepreneur, and I have to highlight that because one of the things that our show likes to do, we like to promote entrepreneurs, and we want to put them in the forefront. So I want to bring this conversation up now because you have your own products.
I do.
Okay, so if you can just give the audience a little bit about yourself and about your entrepreneurship journey and the products that you have.
Okay. So my name is Andrea Fields. I am a retired sewing and crafts teacher. I've taught sewing in a variety of crafts for 32 years. I am personally proficient in 32 needle arts. I started teaching at home. Well, of course, learning from home, but teaching at home for several years. And it just kind of spiral from there. I've taught at several Metro Detroit schools. I've had a line of dowels. If anyone remember River of Life Creation, that was my dowel line, and it expanded to 10 cities before I had to shut it down when my son got ill. And it wasn't that he just got ill. He was ill for 2.5 years. And so after about 5 or 6 months, I just couldn't take it anymore. My concern for my child, excuse me while I turn off my phone. My concern for my child was just overwhelming, and I could not focus on the business anymore. And that's why I shut it down. So fast forward to 2020, and the pandemic kind of shut me down after I had gotten a new location and everything. I ended up, just praying, asking God to show me how to live above the dictates of the economy. And I stumbled across a place where I actually learned how to source products overseas. And this is one of my products. Can you see it?
I can. We cannot see it.
Probably want to bring it closer to the camera. Is that it? There he is.
Yeah.
Perfect Choice laundry detergent sheets. Here, I'm just going to have to send you a picture so you can post it some kind of way. I'm not really sure what's happening.
Oh, it's the background. It's merging into the background.
Oh, okay. So Perfect Choice laundry detergent sheets are my flagship product. I knew when I started sourcing products that I needed it to have something to do with my lifelong career of sewing and crafts. And to me, that was perfect because it was pretty new to the market. In 2022, there were only about 5 companies manufacturing and selling those sheets. Now it's about 22.
Wow.
So that particular product has no dyes, no waxes, no platelets, no parabens. It's gentle on sensitive skin. It neutralizes odors. It helps preserve the original colors of your clothes over time, and you don't need fabric softeners with it. Just put it in a dryer on medium heat because high heat only gets your clothes hotter. It doesn't clean them faster. And let it go. You'll be good to go. This is what it looks like. It's a 4x4 sheet that is perforated, so you can tear it easily for smaller loads.
Okay.
This is a product that I am so proud of. Can you see? Yeah, there it is. This is my proprietary stain treater. I developed this. It took me 5 months of research, trial and error to develop this stain treater. It has 5 enzymes in it, and most of the other, 5 enzymes. It has baking soda, little borax, a few other things in it that literally helps to get out almost any stain you can have. It does not work effectively on commercial dyes at all. But this product, I just started selling the 1 ounce, what I call the travel size bottle of it at vendor shows I go to. And people have called and said, I want more. I need more. But I designed it to get old set in stains out of linens because I love table linens. So those are the 2 products. I am still working on a laundry paste. So most people have either heard of or used a laundry bar soap, but this laundry paste, it's like a creamy soap that's really good for, putting on a toothbrush and brushing it into, say, a carpet or maybe upholstery, something like that, that you really needed to rub in there. Spray will get in there, but with the brushing action, it really gets in there. And I'm trying to get it to where it will rinse easily too, where you don't need a hose to get all the soap off of it like you would if you use a bar soap on those types of stains. So those are the two products that are really, really now. I'm in the process of I've already spoken with the factory, and I am in the process of getting the revenue I need together to roll out my unscented, plant based laundry detergent sheets. And I'm hoping by the end of this month we can get that rolling too. So those are my products for now. And I have 10 more in the pipeline, but we can only develop one at a time.
Hey, you know what? That is awesome. I and my whole team wish you much success with that. That
Thank
is
you.
amazing. And I wanted to get to it. I wanted to get to it early so we can get to catch the audience ear, with your entrepreneurial feats, and understand that everybody that is an entrepreneur is doing great work, and you are doing great work by having
Thank
that
you.
product. And I see it going far. I see it going places. Okay.
Yay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're absolutely welcome. Now, to change gears a little bit,
Hmm.
we was having this conversation the other day. We were talking about modern relationships and everything, and I love your perspective on a relationship. So we put together some questions that
Hmm.
we want to definitely bring to the audience and see. So one of the things that we had, one of the things that was that we came up with, was what's your personal exit stage right strategy, or rule when relationship no longer serves you anymore. Now, now I'm gonna let you go here because there's a lot of red flags. Because at my age, I can see some things, but I'm gonna let you go ahead and respond to that first.
Okay, so I love the exit stage right or exit stage left. It was a cartoon character when I was growing up called Snagglepuss, and when he would see a little danger just coming toward him before it even got to him, he'd say exit stage right or exit stage left, and he'd be gone up out of there. And I think that's the mentality we need to have when we're venturing out into relationship waters these days, because there are so many things. For example, one thing for me, you can't yell at me. Don't yell at me. If
Mm,
we're adults, we should be able to have a civil conversation. And if you yell at me before we are even, if we're just in the conversation stage, that lets me know that you lack the maturity that you would need to effectively communicate with me, period. So
mm,
that's one of my exit stage, right? Absolutely no hitting, absolutely no cheating. Listen, when we've
okay.
gotten to a place where we have determined that we are going to walk forward on this journey together, I'm the only woman in your life, okay? You can have cousins, you can have friends, you can have sisters, but as far as you kicking it with somebody else, no. When you do that, you have told me that you don't want me, whether you say it or not. So
Mm,
those are my three big ones right there. Of course, there are other things, but it's up to each individual to determine what are their I'm going to say their points of no return. You know.
okay. Now, I like what you said. No abuse, no yelling, so no verbal, and no cheating, so no infidelity, no adultery or anything, right?
Yeah.
And I think that that's on everybody's list. Now, if I can add a few more things onto that list from my perspective, because now the yelling part, I can understand. I don't want to be in a relationship where we're yelling back and forth. Now I've known somebody and some people in relationships where the yelling gets into throwing objects. So no throwing objects, no shoes, I don't care how mad you get. Don't even throw a pen. Okay, let's let's have the conversation. Let's sit down and have the conversation and figure things out. Now, even when trying to figure things out, I have noticed that some people would state that, even for myself, that the conversation is surface level, right? trying to figure things out. But at the same time, how can you define a surface level conversation if the other person isn't willing to go deeper to find out their actual root for why they have an insecurity or they have an attitude? So for me, it would be understanding, compromise, and consideration. So have the understanding that if we're going to have the conversation, that if there are deeper ties there, and that takes a level of self-awareness, but if there are deeper ties there, understand that we both have deep ties to experiences that we may or may not know of, right? Compassion and compromise and consideration. Meet halfway, so to speak. On something, and it's not everything. No, it's not financial or anything like that. But sometimes it's a little bit of just understanding on and having grace with some things. Maybe I may miss something, or something may lapse in my mind. Just give me a little bit of grace on that lapse.
Absolutely.
Another thing I want to throw in there is insecurities. There are people that have like large insecurities or self-sabotage. And I think a lot more people are becoming more self-aware as technology grows and people are going to more therapists. They're becoming more self-aware of some of their traits that damages relationships, that go undiscussed, that go unfound and everything. So I would add those things on there. And I also don't believe that there is a good realm of jealousy. Like some people say that there is good jealousy. I have been in relationships where women have been jealous of my success or my ambition or my drive, and it's intimidating to them. And it's kind of like, well, what, you should really fan the flame because it benefits both of us. Don't try to diminish the flame because you feel that it puts you out of the picture, or it puts you out of the limelight, or it makes you feel a particular way because I want to be up here, you're comfortable down here. So you're like, well, I'm not going to fan your flame. I'm going to try to diminish it because you intimidate me, or I'm jealous of your ambition and success as you progress forward. I have to throw those little tidbits in there along with what you had too, because the abuse, yes, no, definitely not. But then there's some other underlying issues that people do that can hinder or stop you from growing as well, and sabotage or just self-sabotage a relationship.
Mm-hmm. And I really want to stress that you're saying relationship. That's the understanding that you and I have decided to come together and take a walk with each other through life. Whether it's a month, whether it's 6 months, whether it's 10 years, we've made a decision that we are going to walk with one another through life as a couple. That's what I mean by relationship, because there are all sorts of dynamics of relationships. For example, with the yelling, I know ladies who they just grew up in families that yelled. I'm not going to stop being your friend because you're a yeller, but when you start yelling, there's no more conversation we can have until you calm down. So there are all sorts of relationship dynamics, but I just thought it was important to make what we're speaking of clear in this moment. And I love fan the flame. I love that. I'm going to use that from now on. Fan that flame. And, I want to say growing up in the era I did grow up in, one of the things that, and having the grandparents and the parents I had, one of the things that drives me crazy is to see women find someone who is eligible, maybe resourceful, maybe affluent, and they latch onto them like a vice grip. They're doing everything they can to make sure this man knows that I'm the one. I'm the one. They're fighting other women off. Baby, if you have to go through all that, it's not worth it, because in the end, you're going to be the one ending up with medical problems, with insecurities, because you're fighting for someone who has made it clear they don't want you. I'll leave it at that.
You know what? I'm glad you drove that point home. I'm glad you brought that up, because you're absolutely right. What I've noticed, and in all my dating experience, is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, the wrong women end up with the right man, and the right woman end up with the wrong man. So let me break that down, because you look at it, you're looking at me like what you say. So
It was that obvious.
it was that obvious. It was that obvious. So this is what I'm saying.
Okay.
So don't look at as in this is the right match. This is the right match. What I'm saying is that you will have just as in your example, a very toxic man that that is very diminishing, disrespectful and everything. But then you have this very successful and ambitious woman, and he latches onto her, and she can't see the flaws that he has, but thinks that this is a buildable or fixable relationship.
Mm-hmm.
He may not have a job. He may just run the streets. He kind of like Jody from Baby Boy.
Mm-hmm.
Just not a productive person. But you have this person that has everything going for themselves. They got their own place. They're trying to move up in the organization. They're trying to get their education, but they have this other person just consistently dragging them down and not giving them the room to grow because they latched onto them. And vice versa. You have men that that are moving up the ladder, that's growing, but then you have this one particular woman that is using her feminine ways to kind of keep him away from other women. Very jealous and insecure, latching onto them. Hey, wherever you go, I want to go as well. Well, why are you spending money on that? Let's spend money on us, or let's, using very persuasive ways to kind of hold them back or keep their attention on them. They may not fight other women. They may not do anything. I mean, you do have those that do fight other women. They will. But in these situations, it's a little bit more cunning. It's a little bit more strategic. It's a little bit more persuasive. Having them spend money on them and not anything else. So it's those type of mindsets.
Yeah. I want to say where your treasure is, your heart will be also. Have you ever spent money on a person, say for, even if you've only dated for a month and you've gone out maybe 4 or 5 times and you spent money on them, and one of the biggest letdowns when you finally say this ain't working is that you spent so much money on that person. It feels like a waste.
It is. And
Mhm.
I know from the young ladies that I've known and that have kind of educated me on women, they always say, well, no, you can't always put your best foot forward when it comes to women. You can't, take them out on extravagant dates, the first time you get to know them and everything like that. And I was always like, well, why not? I'm like, I'm
Mhm.
showing that what and I hate to phrase it like this, but I'm showing what I bring to the table. I'm
Mhm.
being a provider. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And their whole thing is when you do that, you get these women that fall in love with you, and they want to be with you. And what ends up happening is sometime down the line, you may be like, you don't want to do it no more.
Mhm.
And and you feel like that's not a good fit. And I'm like, well, that technically that's not really my problem. Like,
Right.
I'm showing what I'm about up front. No representative, no anything.
Mhm.
I don't believe that I come with a representative, because I'm coming out the gate exactly how I am and moving forward. And I think that's how every relationship should be. Put your best foot forward and lead with that foot on every occasion with and being intentional. I think when we sit back and we gatekeep certain attributes, I'm not going to cook for you, and unless we living together, or unless we marry, or I'm not doing certain things unless we marry and everything like that. I just feel like there's a double standard when it comes to that, because men have to put so much up front, where there are some women that hold so much back until they get to certain tiers of the relationship that they want to provide those particular activities.
And allow me to suggest that women who do that, right off rip, they're not the one. Because if it's a tit for tat, what if
Mm,
you get sick one day? What if?
yeah.
What if your mother needs you to be there with her for 3 weeks in a row? What if? Is she going to be upset and say, "Well, we can't hang for the next 3 weeks because you spent all that time with your mother"?
Yeah.
That those are the type of things that let you know that your values are not the same. And it's probably best that we not continue any further. And I'm going to beg to differ with you on one point, and I believe it's
Okay.
possibly because of our age difference. I don't believe in dating per se. I need to have a few conversations with you to know where
Mm,
you are, to know where your
okay.
head is, to know if even our hearts align. There is I cannot, even at my age, I still get hit on. It's unbelievable, but it's true. And they all say the same thing. You are really sweet. You're a genuinely nice person. We could really do something together. Well, at my age, I don't need you to do something with me. If I'm going to
Mm,
be in a relationship, it's going to be with someone I respect. It's going to be with someone who I believe that we have not only chemistry together, but that we have like mutual desires in life, that we have similar characters, and I can deal with your idiosyncrasies and you don't mind mine. Those are the things that are more important at this age. We communicate with one another verbally more than we do sensually. So let's get
mm.
that most important, because that's going to be the biggest part of our relationship, the way we communicate with one another.
Okay. So I like how you said that. So now let me ask you this question. So you saying that you don't date and you got to have a few conversations. How
First.
do those how are these conversations? These conversations are primarily over the phone and possibly through text, correct?
Correct. Primarily, yeah. But we have first face conversations too.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
okay, okay, okay. So so in that process, what would you see? What would you say is the 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 conversation stage, so to speak? Like, what? How long is that for, or is that dependent on the connection?
I think more often than not, it's dependent on the connection. I'm gonna give you a
Okay.
really good example. I met a gentleman not very long ago who who acted like he was all in. He wanted to talk to me every day. He's calling, and me being just as cool as you please. If I don't have time, I don't have time. And if
Mm-hmm.
you're getting upset because I don't make time for you right now, you show me you're not the one. Because as we go forward, if we ever get into a relationship where we're actually spending time with one another regularly and I have to pull away, are you going to be upset about something like that?
Mm.
So those conversations show you little things as you go along. I remember a gentleman, this was years ago, who expressed an interest in me, and he was really verbose in the way he expressed the interest in me, and he was really consistent with just showing up here, showing up there, doing this, doing that, saying I want, I want, I want. Well, about 2 months in, thank God I am the person I am, because I don't open my legs like that. It has to be a show enough commitment in place for that to happen. But
Mm.
thank God I did, because a few months in, 2, 3 months in, after he's being really diligent and consistent, found out the brother was married. How do you have
Wow.
time to do all that? How do you have time to pursue me like that? And if that's what you're doing to your wife, what are you going to do with me? The old folks used to say, a person who will cheat with you will cheat on you.
Mm.
Because they don't have the integrity. They don't have the fortitude. They don't respect relationships at all. You're,
Hold on.
you know,
Say that line one more time.
a person who will cheat with you will cheat on you. Period.
That is, man, that's a good line. Ooh.
Thank the old folks. I'm not one of them yet, but thank the old folks.
I gotta process that one. The man that
Mm-hmm.
cheat with you will cheat on you. But that is a very true statement. For
Mm-hmm.
everybody that have cheated and had went on to have a successful relationship with the cheater, at some point in time eventually gets cheated on.
Exactly. And then the relationship ends. And sometimes you catch them in the process, sometimes you don't. But I have yet to find one relationship that ended successfully where cheating was the main thing. And I mean that includes the Prince of Wales. I mean the King of Europe right now.
Mm.
That includes him and his wife, the Queen Camilla, Queen Consort. That includes them.
Mm. So now let me ask you this. Now I have heard some success stories
Hmm.
of men cheating on women, women cheating on men, and or one party cheats and they're able to come back from that cheating or that adultery and move on and still have a progressive successful relationship.
Hmm.
Now, what are your thoughts on that? I know it's not many that's happened because I know for men and women it's different because of what's going on in your head. Replaying the events and the conversations and the emotions and everything. For yourself, hearing that, knowing that some people may have came back from those situations, what is your thought process on um if you was in this, I know you said no cheating, but if this person was top notch A1, would it be a possibility to come back from a cheating situation?
I'm not able to speak on that because I have, I'm so quick to let people go. I'm sorry. I just,
I keep let people go. It's not there's
no,
nobody.
I'm
You can be perfect. You could
not.
be a 10 out of 10,
Yeah.
and it's there is no conversation.
Yeah, I think, now this is just to me. I know men are different. I know that they are structured differently, physiologically. But their physiology is different than ours. So I know that my dad told me the hardest thing for a man to do is resist temptation. That's what my father said. And to the best of my knowledge, my father has never ever lied to me about everything. Oh, and I can't speak to that. When I was dating my children's father, my first husband, and I didn't have any children until I was married, I waited intentionally because that was one of the things I thought I was going to avoid. But when we were engaged, I found out that he was actually having a relationship. We were in the military then. He was actually having a relationship with someone who was supposed to be my friend. So of course, the way I was taught, I didn't fly off the handle. I called my dad and said, "Dad," and he said, "Okay." He said, "The question isn't whether or not he cheated. The question is whether or not you want to be married." He said, "Because you're going to find that there are very few men in the world who have the ability to be faithful. So again, I'm going to ask you, do you want to be married or not?" So of course he didn't give me the answer I wanted, and I didn't answer him. I just hung up and called my brother.
Like, you didn't give me the right answer, so I'm gonna go ask somebody else. Like, is
Right.
that okay? That's good.
And he gave me basically the same answer. And that's not a big deal. Do you want to be married or not? And he said, just be thankful he was cheating with a woman and not a man. And I'm like, well, I'll be dogged. And so of course, with the two men that, two of the men I admire most in the world saying the same thing, I'm like, I made the decision to go forward. And we never ever spoke about it again. But it turned out that he was a hoe. I mean, we were married 9 years to that. And as far as I know, he didn't cheat in that 9 years until he cheated 9 years later. And that it was a wrap. We stayed married for 11 years, but it was a long process. And it got to a point where I just say it just for me, and I think for a lot of women, it just gets to the point that I can't tolerate the betrayal anymore. Because if you keep cheating, there's a time, and then these other girls who you're cheating with, they're going to start saying things about the wife. They don't even know the wife 9 times out of 10. But they're
Yeah.
saying, oh, she can't love you like I love you. I bet she doesn't make you feel as good as I do, but I did. And if I didn't have 12 kids and we could do it anytime, we could do that too. But our dynamic has changed. And you are allowing someone else, be it man or woman, you are allowing someone to destroy what I built with you.
Mm.
That's betrayal. Did I yell loud enough?
Don't let the passion flow. I wasn't gonna say nothing. I was gonna be like, this. We can just roll with it.
Yeah, because that kind of yelling is emphatic. There are different levels of yelling, but me screaming at you because is a different thing.
That just came out of nowhere. Um, but I definitely understand. And I've been in situations like that. Not to
Mhm.
the point where I want to marry the person, but I've been in situations where I cheated, they cheated. You
Mhm.
know, I was a primary cheater, they were the primary cheater, and alike. And I can honestly say that once, and I'm gonna say this as a man, once
Mhm.
you cheat the first time, then it's kind of like, well, you want to do it again, you know, and then you want to do it. It's not something that you just do one time and be like, okay, it's out of my system.
Mhm.
I haven't heard any man that I know state that, you know, once I cheat, I'll stop because that's the only one that I wanted. Nah, because now you're trying to, now is in your mind like, okay, well, how can I really work this out to
Mhm.
cheat? Like, I can find time to do it. I just gotta make time. I gotta find the time around to do it.
Where
And
I
that just
won't get caught.
because and until I get caught, you know. I mean that is the mindset. If there's any man listening, tell you know, you can tell me I'm wrong. You can say that you're different. I cheated once and I ain't cheat no more time after that. Hey, if you want to own that, own it. I just believe that the first time you cheat, you know, it's so exhilarating because you, especially when you get away with it, you want to see how far you could end up pushing the envelope. And it's
Mhm.
different from man to man, but I believe from my experience that's how it happens. And you're absolutely right that it is hard to avoid temptation. You know, I was in a situation where I was dating a young lady, and this girl at work was literally pushing up on me.
Mhm.
But I'm the kind of person that's so oblivious I don't really recognize it. So it was going over my head, and I was like, and then I had to think about it later on, like, was she? And then I was like, then I kind of pushed it out my head. But she was pushing up on me, knowing that I was dating somebody at the time.
Mhm.
But she kept pushing. There was, you know, and there was another situation, and um became friends with one of the young lady at work, and and this was like years ago. I was like in my teenage years, pushing up on this young lady. I knew she was getting married, but we
Mhm.
had a profound connection, and it wasn't supposed to be any more than that. But you know, as you get to know people and everything, you know, we end up having and building this connection, and you know, she ended up, you know, cutting out the relationship, and that's the danger of having the emotional connection. You know,
Mhm.
you're not physically cheating, but when you develop an emotional connection with somebody, I think that's the most dangerous form of cheating and the most impactful, because you're connected to this person in a way that they may not be connected to the person that they're talking to. You're not connected to that person that you're talking to, and if it goes away, then it's devastating for both parties. And that's kind of the situation that had happened. We was in like our early 20s and everything when this had occurred, but it was devastating for like the both of us, because I don't know, she went on to get married, but she ended up leaving the job, and she told me, she was like, well, we can no longer talk. So like, because you know, I'm really starting to have feelings for you, but I'm getting married, and I have to stay true to, you know, my fiance. And I was like, yeah, I understand that, you know, but I mean, you know, there's some intense feelings. There's some intense feelings.
Right.
So, um, so I understand the different levels and dangers to it. You know, somebody that captivates your mind, they may not have your heart or
Mhm.
your emotions, but they stimulate you mentally that you're not getting that stimulation in your relationship, or they move you emotionally and you're not being moved like that in your relationship,
Mhm.
or they
Mhm.
move you physically that you're not being moved like that in your relationship. But once you get to the physical part, you know, you have tried it very far into the
Right. You're
cheating
right.
realm, very far into the
You're
cheating
right.
realm.
You're absolutely correct.
But
Mhm.
the first two, if the first two are captured, it's something that's very hard to untangle and let go,
Mhm.
because when that person captures you emotionally and mentally, if you get to the physical, your relationship is pretty much over. It's really nothing to go back to at that point.
Right. Right. Betrayal. I think the lady who left the job, I applaud her integrity, I applaud her integrity, and I am so proud of her. And I think that's the type of person we should all endeavor to be. I want to say
Mm.
that I believe that when
I'm not
God
proud of
gave,
her.
huh?
I'm
You
not
said
proud
you
of
weren't. I know.
her. I'm proud of her. We could have had something
Not even
beautiful.
in retrospect.
3 months versus the year or two that she had with, high school sweethearts don't work out. I could have been better. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right. I hear you. I hear you. Through that. Uh-huh.
But I do apologize. I didn't mean to interrupt. You were saying,
No, 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 no. You're good. You're good. I'm just really proud of her because I think that's the type of woman we should all endeavor to be. I think because we were born, we were created. I believe we were created by God because we were created to be a suitable help to men. A lot of people think that means, oh, he has to be a Christian. No, I think we just have to be like-minded, going on the same path, the same type of character, to walk this path of life together. But I think a lot of women believe that they have to have a man, but it's only because we are inbred to be helpful. So, for
mm,
example, I have 4 children. When I divorced, I became a single parent. But what I found out soon after, one of the things I prayed is, God, help me to rear my children. I don't want man after man over my children. And so I asked God to help me rear my children. But what I found is that the love I received from my children was so pure. It was so intense. To me, it was better than any love that I had ever experienced from my husband because they weren't looking to me to do, other than be their mom. They were just grateful for any way I came when we had a lot to eat or a little to eat. And I found myself pushing myself more and more and more and more because I didn't want to disappoint my children. So I think one of the ways we miss it is that we don't realize that love is love, whether it comes from a child, whether it comes from a grandparent, whether it comes from a brother or a sister. It's not confined to a relationship where a man and a woman are commingling to walk life together. Love is love. And if you're able to receive it, you're able to receive it from anyone.
mm. Well, I'm
Absent the
gonna
sex, of course.
I'm gonna disagree with you there.
Okay,
Okay, and I'm gonna say why. I'm gonna say why.
please do. Mhm.
So yes, love is love, and one thing I will say is that if you receive it, you should be able to give it. Right
Mhm, mhm,
now, the part I disagree with is that receiving love from my brothers and sisters, love from my mom and them, is completely different than the love that I receive from somebody that I'm dating or a spouse, right?
mhm, mhm,
And the reason why I say that, and this is coming from a male perspective, so this has nothing to do with the female perspective, but just from the male perspective. Love from my family is unconditional,
Yes, it is.
regardless of what I do, regardless of some of the things that I say. There's always a time, a place, and room to come back. Okay, you
Exactly.
know, I don't want to say that, but I've seen family members go down
Mhm,
dark paths and
mhm,
still receive the love, support, and treatment with no conditions that are involved there. Okay.
mhm.
No matter the baggage they have or anything, you are family. We love you. We support you. We want to see you get better. That is
Yeah,
it's 100% unconditional love, right?
right.
And 100% support. As far as you can support, okay? Because
Mhm.
some people be trying you. You don't want to give all that support.
Hey. Mhm,
But when it comes to relationships, and it's always going to be conditions involved, and especially from a man perspective. In order, I can receive love from in a relationship, and I can
mhm,
give love in a relationship, but that love comes at a cost, and it's very conditional. It's conditioned. The conditions are always surrounded by the job that I have, the money that I have, my integrity, my ambition, my treatment, okay, being a provider, all the things that a man have to be or has been categorized to be in a relationship is all love is all predicated on those conditions. When those conditions, and it's not all situations, but when those conditions are not met, relationships falter when those
That's right.
conditions are not met. So I do agree with the idea that love is love either way.
Mhm.
But love over here in relationships are conditional. And as long as those conditions are met, you have love. And it's not always 100%. It's really a 50-50 gamble because you
Mhm.
can meet all the conditions and the person you're dealing with is still unhappy. You could
Right.
not
Right. Mhm.
and you cannot meet all the conditions and
Mhm.
the person that you with can be happy or unhappy. So in either situation, whether you are providing the conditions, the person can be happy or unhappy, or you're not providing the conditions, the person can be happy or unhappy. But either way, that love it comes with condition. Because if it was unconditional love, imagine how many people would still be married.
Right.
If it was
Exactly my
unconditional,
point. Mhm.
imagine the people that went through the darkest spaces of their life and their spouse is standing by their side, helping them get back, honoring their vows. And we're talking about
Yes.
marriages now. Honor their
Yeah.
vows that they spoke in the church, or at the beach in front of the pastor, in front of the minister, whatever.
Yes.
You spoke those vows, but yet it's so easy for you to file $200 to get a divorce and relinquish all those vows when the man didn't cheat. He didn't do anything. He probably lost his job. He probably became sick where he couldn't perform the work anymore. Or that person just got tired of just a being a person that is a wife, a parent, whatever the case is. They took the conditions of that love and say, you know what, you're not no longer meeting the conditions, or you are meeting conditions, but I still don't feel fulfilled. I feel like I'm still missing out on life. So
Mhm.
our love as a man come with so many conditions, some with so many rules, come with so many barriers, come with so many perspectives. There's no way that relationships can be so unconditional where men are 100% accepted for their flaws, their vulnerabilities, their ups, their downs, their weaknesses, their tears. I haven't seen a relationship that works in that aspect. I know people that have been married for a long time, but I am still under the belief that when I look at the statistics, when I look at the numbers, they are very few relationships that operate without conditions. Is always going to be what can you provide for me? What can you do for me? And if we translate that into modern relationships, even though men or women are at a split, when we looking at conversations and relationships, men are now having conditions for women. As the question always comes up, what do you bring to the table? Women have always had conditions of men, but now men are having conditions for women. So now the love that they're giving is all dedicated on what do you bring to the table. Now it becomes a conditional conversation and it becomes transactional. Hey, I'm providing all of this. What are you going to provide? What do you want to do, or how do you going to how what do you contribute to this relationship? But
So first, I'm gonna back up a little bit and say I think we have this. I think we have the same idea, and that's what I meant when I said that my
okay,
children gave me more love than my husband did because it was unconditional. It didn't matter when I got fat. I remember my daughter drew a picture of me and she captured all three of my chins. But it was she goes. She had stars in my eyes, but it was the most beautiful picture to me because that's how she saw her mother, a starry-eyed fat lady. But it was love. I mean, it tickled me. So it tickles me to think of it, but it was all love. They didn't care if I got fat. They didn't care, anything else. So that unconditional love, once you experience it, nothing else compares to it. But I will say about the relationship, I've met a lot of people who've had thriving, dynamic relationships, and I think that brings us back to our first point. What is your character like? That's why we have those conversations, and we're not having tit for tat conversations. Well, I have a Volvo and you have a Volkswagen. I have a let's say I have a teak table, but you have oak furniture. It's not a tit for tat conversation.
Right.
It's what do you need to be fulfilled versus how I can fulfill you. And the same goes vice versa. How can we walk this path together and complement and support one another on the way? If we get into those tit for tat conversations, we know right away it's not going to work because it is conditional. We need to be as I want to say as transparent as we can with one another as we're getting acquainted one another. And as we do that calmly, mostly verbally, we get to learn more about one another.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I do want to talk about those transactional relationships in a bit. But you're gonna come to it, but go ahead.
We can go right into it right now. Because we are here. Go ahead.
Okay,
Lead the way.
Okay, so one of the questions you asked was about about sex, right? I don't remember how did you phrase that question. Let me get back to that. Do you remember how you phrased it? I can get back to the email. It says, wait a minute, where's that email?
So how do you protect your energy and boundaries, especially around intimacy?
That's the one. That's the one.
Okay.
So for me personally, because I was raised the way I was raised, and because I believe how I believe, I don't think there is a way to protect your boundaries and have sex with someone, because that breaks them all down. That breaks it all the way down, period. Once you have sex with someone, you have given all of yourself, the most precious aspect of yourself you can give outside of your spirit, and you can't give that to anybody. You have given away. You have commingled your blood, your fiber, every part of you with this person. And I know it's different physiologically for men, but for women, when we do that, there is a bond formed. Let me back up a little bit. So when I was developing these laundry detergent sheets, I can't show the picture yet, right? Oh, anyway, when I was developing those laundry detergent sheets, one of the things I found out is that the Dermatological Society, one of the things they say is that anything that touches the skin is a skincare product, so to speak. The kind of sheets we use. Some people are they can't use those silk sheets because they're too slippery, they're too slimy, their skin doesn't have the texture. Just think of it this way. If you put a drop of lotion on your skin, it's going to absorb into your skin, right?
Right.
It's going to become one with you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing when you're getting close to someone. When you are close to someone like that, they are becoming one with you, whether you have a strong relationship or not. So from my perspective and my perspective alone, I don't know if anyone agrees with me or not, there is no way to have a sexual relationship with someone else devoid of emotion. I just don't think it could happen. And so there was a book, I think it was Napoleon Hill who wrote a book and one of the things he talked about is transmutation. And the thing about transmutation is the energy, that life force, that sexual desire has to be transmuted into energy that is used to build your business, to study, to do all kinds of productive things rather than just beating off or, whatever you do, however you want to phrase it. It has to be transmuted into something positive, or it will be squandered and you'll end up wasting away your life force. So I think that's a really good way to say it. Another thing I wanted to say, let me see, it was one more thing about that. There is a young man who has I don't think it's a podcast, but he goes around the world. It's called The School of Hard Knocks on YouTube. I really love his content, but he goes around the world interviewing millionaires and billionaires. And one of the questions he often asks is, how important is God to your success? And 9 out of 10 of them all say optimally important. Some of them say that, and having a good wife that you cater to, having one person in your life, not many. So those are things that I think will point the way. If you want to be successful, study success. Can I give your audience a challenge? The men in your audience a challenge? So when I got divorced, my husband, after he was cheating, I felt like I was the person that was wrong in the relationship, that it was something about me that just couldn't hold on to my husband, no matter how desperately I wanted my marriage to work. I figured it was something wrong with me. So I spent a lot of years reading books and studying relationships, talking to people. So I'm not an expert by any means, but it took me time to realize it wasn't me. It failed. It was some things that I did wrong, some things that he did wrong, but it wasn't me by myself the way he tried to make me believe it was. So what I have learned is that a lot of people in the world have gone through exactly the same thing I have gone through, and reading about their experiences and how they got over them helped me to heal. So for each and every man out there and woman for that matter, who has gone through something that has been debilitating to them, that they are having a hard time recovering from, study. Find the books, go on YouTube. And then just find the things find examples of other people who have gone through things that you've gone through and learn how to get over them. But for men particularly, I want to encourage you to look up, how do I get a man? And then you will be able to see the tricks that girls use to trap you. You'll be able to see them and recognize them when they come.
Oh, I'm gonna have to look that up. Wait a minute.
Yeah, I have sons, so I gotta protect my sons.
Yeah, I need that inside information. Ain't nobody hitting on me. I can tell you that right now. Ain't nobody hitting on me. Ain't nobody looking my
You
way.
never know. You never know.
People look at me, they're like, MNG, you look intimidated. You look like you don't want to be bothered with it all. Like, you don't smile at nobody, no nothing. I'm like, I don't feel the need to smile at nobody. Like, what I'm smiling for? Like, the sun shining? Like, stop talking to me.
The sun is shining is reason enough for me.
They were like, my dad will always tell me like, it's always somebody looking at you, and I'm looking like, nah, bro, not at all. I ain't looking at them.
Right.
Definitely ain't. If they looking at me,
eyes straight forward, huh?
I keep my eyes on the prize, and it ain't them. I can tell you that right now.
Hello. And it's funny how sometimes the best thing or the best person in the world can stumble upon you in ways that you weren't even anticipating. It just, when it happens, it happens. But when it's forced, it's like, I just can't.
That's true. Mm-hmm. That's another interesting point is knowing when a relationship is being forced and when it's moving organically and naturally. And sometimes it can be difficult to recognize the two. But if you're constantly having one thing, and for the fans, I've told y'all this before, but I went to therapy over a relationship. And one thing they had told me when I started dating again was, and I was telling them about a particular relationship that I was in, and they said, because we always have arguments, we had extreme differences, is what I would say, and like that's extreme. I'm being a little dramatic, but we had differences. But the therapist had said, well, do you feel like these are growing pains, or is it that y'all just growing? And I was like, well, how would I tell the difference? She was like, well, you stated that y'all are consistently, arguing, having conversations and going back and forth. Is it that y'all are learning each other and y'all trying to sort out the differences and y'all getting past it and then y'all growing? And I was like, no, I don't think that's it, because we keep arguing about the same stuff. Like, it just ain't making no
Mm.
sense.
So you were at an impasse, it sounds like.
It was at an impasse because and this was for, all the, everybody. She kept comparing me to her ex because her ex was like-minded like she was, versus how I was, where I wasn't as like-minded because there was certain things that she believed in. And this was right around when, woke culture started to come up. She started to have the woke mindset. And I was just kind of like, yeah, that's it's not really my thing. Like, it's not something that I'm going to appeal to. And I had my various reasons at the time. But her mindset was like, yeah, very pro-black, very pro-woman, and everything like that. Just very big on that stuff. And I was just kind of like, yeah, I understand your point, but I'm just trying to stay in my own lane and make way for me and my son. Like, I'm not trying to I'm not trying to be in that water. I like the water over here. The water over here is warm. That water over there is kind of cold. Like, I don't want to be in that water. So it just wasn't a space that I was ready to be in at that moment, because my focus was on other things.
Mm-hmm.
So when you realize that your ideas and your mindset is not syncing up, and you're consistently going through barriers and challenges, there's nothing wrong with having constructive conversations and constructive, I'm going to say, arguments, for, a better term. It's okay, because that sometimes bring you closer. As long as you're not, yelling and throwing stuff at each other, it does bring you closer. But there's also an organic growth where you can have conversations and then it'll just naturally progress, because y'all will be on the same page. You will have a greater understanding. The actions will be more genuine. And because a person says something, it doesn't always align up with the actions. But when the actions and the words line up, then I feel like you have something that could be a little bit more genuine, versus somebody that just says stuff and their actions just not syncing up. Because I can tell you that, yeah, I'm gonna go up here and I'm gonna go to the free throw line and I'm gonna hit 100 free throws, and I only hit 50, or I only do 50. Like, what I said and what my actions were, like, I'm going here and I'm gonna practice 100 shots, but I only practice 50 shots. My actions and my words is not syncing up. So
Right.
it's not, I'm not putting in the work, so to speak. So if I said I'm going to shoot 100, I should go shoot 100. That means I'm putting in the work and the effort. That's the same thing in a relationship. If I say I'm going to be there for you, and I'm going to listen to you, and I'm going to understand, and I'm going to have a conversation, and I'm going to put in the effort, and the actions follow, then yes, that's genuine. But if they're saying that stuff and not putting in the actions, then it's not genuine. It could be transactional. It could be conditional. It just all depends. It could be tick for tack. It just all depends. So, but Andrea, I want to thank. Oh, I'm sorry. I want to cut you off.
I was going to say, I went through therapy with my husband, and I think, and this is just my personal opinion, I think it was justified because we were married. We had children together. We had a home. We had a lot invested in that relationship. And both of us stood to lose greatly, and we did ultimately divorce. My question is, if you're not married and you are just dating, I don't understand the value of going through therapy with someone you're just dating. Help me understand that. Because the therapy is not going to change who you are. It's not going to change your character. It's just going to give you a different perspective, a way of looking at things, and help you consider the other person's position. But if who you are at the core remains who you are at the core.
So let me clarify. I didn't go to therapy to save the relationship.
Okay, that's what I was missing. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't go to the therapy to save the relationship. I went to therapy to fix the things that I was doing wrong in relationship, or try to figure out what I was doing wrong in relationships. Mm-hmm. So it was more so of, first of all, I'll tell you, I'm a hopeless romantic. So, I find the good in all kind of relationships, even when
right.
So so I had to go to therapy so I can kind of as you stated, the latter part of getting a new perspective on how to approach and have relationships or whatnot. I should have kept going, but it's getting expensive. but
Right, right.
but that was the mindset. So when I exited the relationship, that's when I started going to therapy. I'm like, okay, I must be doing something wrong. Let me go and figure some things out, because my mom never married, so I didn't see um what a healthy relationship looked like. So it was never an experience. It was never something that I experienced. So, and then my dad, from when I stayed with him on the weekends, and my dad never sees this, he probably called me, but his house was like a revolving door for women. One weekend I see one woman, another weekend I see another woman, and then sometime I would see no women, and then I would wake up and then I would see women walking out the door. So it was kind of like, like, yeah, I knew you was a Rolling Stone, but I didn't know you was like that. So,
Right, right.
but that's the kind of life he lived, when I was coming up. So there was no healthy relationships that I can glean off of and be able to just ingrain that experience and say, you know what, I see what a healthy relationship look like. I know how to pursue it. So not seeing that, I went to therapy to try to figure some things out for myself and gain the tool, put the tools in the toolbox, gain tools and everything and recognition, and everything. So, that's why I went to therapy.
That's good to know. That's a real important difference.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I know somebody that was dating a young lady for like, I think 2 or 3 years. They lived together and they were going to therapy. Like they weren't even married, but they were going to therapy. And I was like, why y'all going to therapy? We try to figure
Yeah,
things
but
out.
I mean, if you're living together 2 and 3 years, you have a lot invested. And both of
Yes.
you stand to lose. Usually the woman more than the man, but you both stand to lose a lot.
Well, okay,
Yeah, just think of how emotionally attached women are. Men, they may not have an easier time letting go, but they have an easier time moving forward. Women, because of
okay.
who we are emotionally, we have a tendency to get stuck for years. Now, men, I'm just saying, because I grew up around men, your heart might be broken, but you're still going to do what you need to do.
Okay. I agree
But
with
we
that.
but we
I
can
agree.
we can lay and wallow in that stuff for some years.
Okay. I can agree with that. I can agree with that. Well, Andrea, I want to thank you for coming on to the show. It has
Oh, the
been
pleasure was
a
mine.
a great conversation.
Mhm.
It's been a really great conversation. Farewell fans, once again, Andrea, once again, just let them know the products that you have. I know you got the sheets and you have the stain
Stain
remover,
treatment. Yeah.
the stain treatment, and you have the remover.
Let's see if that
So
one
what?
works. This is
It's
crazy to me. There it is. Whoa.
so what I'm so Andrea, one question: do you have a website?
I do. www.perfectchoicecleaningsolutions.com. And you can
So
look it up. Look at it. Just Google Perfect Choice. Not Google. Go to Perfect Choice on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and you'll find us there too. You can Google Perfect Choice laundry detergent sheets also.
well, Farrell fans, I'm gonna do you one even better. I'm gonna just go ahead and put it in the description, so you don't even have to lead a page. You can just go right down to the
Yay.
description. Boom, grab it, get it
There it
right there.
is.
We'll see you on the next go around. We will see you on the next interview. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share. Peace.